Okay, so it's 1 o'clock, so I guess we'll get started and see if more people come in. So does everybody have your study guide 5 open? Wait a second for everyone to get there. And then just real quick in the chat, how far have you guys gotten? Do you have most of it unfinished or most of it finished? About halfway, none of it? Okay. Sounds good. So, especially for those of you who have some of it done, feel free to participate plenty, so it's not just Hannah giving all the answers up here. So we'll start on the first one, which was hard for me to remember about because it was before midterms. But so according to Skousen, this is the 5,000 year leap reading. You all did that. So what human frailties does a written constitution protect against? Anybody have thoughts on that, or should I go ahead? So having a written constitution, I'll just kind of explain it. It won't necessarily be the best format for writing, but I'll kind of explain what I got from this. Having a written constitution that's more kind of solid, because either in order to have a successful government, either you need written laws or always virtuous leaders, and really you can't count on the leaders to always be virtuous. So really you need written laws, and that protects against like the selfishness of men and like corruption. Because even if you have like a really good person, if you give them a lot of power, they can still end up being selfish and, make bad choices. So, even if you've got good people, if you have written laws, that's going to protect against those problems with people doing whatever they want, because then you're ruled by law and not by the whims of a leader, which I can go into that more if you didn't get the answer to the question, but that kind of goes into the next question, which is what does it mean to be governed by law and not by men? And that's just that the government is subject to a written law. So the government has rules that they have to follow. It's not the government ruling by their own whims, right? So is everyone good on those first 2 questions? Or anyone have any extra thoughts they want to add? The second one, so the question is, what does it mean to be governed by law and not by men? So that just means that the government is subject to a written law, or, well, not necessarily written, but it would be probably. The government is subject to law. So it's not the government, whether it's a group or one person or whatever, it's not them ruling based on their own whims. They have to follow a set of rules. And that's how they have to. May, go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's kind of like how I view it, and how it's probably the best way to view it for me is that like men and people will change throughout decades and over time, and they all have different ideas. But if you're governed by law and rules that are already set and like written down and everything, then it's easier to follow them and to like kind of be part of that, because then it's globally known, it's globally agreed upon and stuff like that.
Yeah, great. 1 second. Yes, perfect. Everyone got those first 2 questions? Okay, we'll go on. So this next section is pretty straightforward. It's just the details about the legislative branch that come from Article 1 of the Constitution. Most of them are pretty short answers. So what are the terms of office for representatives? So members of the House of Representatives. 2, yes, it is 2 years. So straightforward, just 2 years, not really anything else to go there. And then the terms of office for senators is 6 years. Yep, those both are really short, straightforward. And then next, the qualifications of office. So first, for representatives, there's 3. It's the same 3 qualifications for both houses, but they have different numbers. So for the representatives, it's 25 years old. You have to be a citizen of the United States for 7 years, and you have to reside in the state for which you were elected. Okay? So they're in the chat box if you missed that. And then for the senators, it's the same things, the numbers just changed. So 30 years old instead of 25, 9 years a citizen instead of 7, and again, be an inhabitant of the state for which you're elected to represent. So, who elects representatives? The people. Yes, exactly. The people of the state. So you have your state elections for your own representatives of your state. And then when it comes to senators, it's confusing kind of because it was changed by the 17th Amendment. So in Article 1, which is what it says in the question, it says according to Article 1. So I'm assuming it's asking for the original and not what it is now. According to Article 1, who elects senators? And for that, it's the state legislature. But with the 17th Amendment, it's the people. So you might want to make a note about, the change of the 17th Amendment. Everyone good so far? We'll keep going. So originally, in Article 1, the original, how they wrote it is that the legislature of the state is who elects the senators, but the 17th Amendment changed that, so it's the people of the state that elects them, not the legislature. So after the 17th Amendment, now it's the same for both the House and the Senate. Bingo. Got it. We good? Okay, so next off, how are vacancies handled in the House? So if something happens to one of the members of the House of Representatives, how they fill that. Jacob's got it, I think, yeah. The executive issues a writ of election to fill the vacancies. So basically what that means is the governor of the state, they hold a special election to elect the new member. And then how are vacancies handled in the Senate? For that one, let me see. The state executive can appoint a temporary replacement until the next meeting of the legislature, and then they appoint a new senator there. So that one I wasn't super clear on. Anyone have that really good? I can check my Constitution. So that one is how are vacancies handled in the Senate? Yeah, so I guess when the Senate meets again, then they appoint a new member with it. It's the Senate that makes that election. But until they meet again, the governor of the state can make a temporary replacement. is what I got from that. I think I'm right. And next, okay. What are the powers vested only in the House? Anybody got that one? The power of impeachment. There we go. And then what are the powers vested only in the Senate? Is the power to trial impeachments. So that any impeachment has to come from the House, but then the Senate can try that impeachment. There's more powers. There's the Section 8 that has all the powers, but I think that impeachment's the only ones that are specific to the different houses, right? That's the only thing I found in there. So that's the end of that section. Did everyone get that whole thing? The Article 1 section. I don't know. Rochelle, go ahead.
Okay, so sorry, I missed this. So I got the wait, hold on, where did it go? The who elects senators, but who elects representatives?
It's the people of the states.
The people of the states. Okay, that makes sense. Sorry, yeah.
Yep. 1 second. Okay. So we'll go on to the next section. It's just from class. A question that we apparently answered. Why did the founders establish the terms and qualifications of office for the House and Senate listed in Article 1? Anyone want to answer that, or I have an answer somewhere in here? So, kind of, okay, someone, May, you, it's not you.
Yeah, okay. So what I feel is the best explanation for me to understand, and you guys probably won't think it's as easy to understand because my brain works differently. But it's the founders established the qualifications and terms so that the House and Senate couldn't just accept anyone. They couldn't just allow anyone to come in. And I kind of thought of if you are worthy, in a sense, I don't know, that's probably not a good word to use, and ready. So this way that you could choose people that actually fit for the job and narrowing down the list of potentials. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. They have to have these high standards to make sure we get good people in there. And another thing that he was talking about, why they're different. They have the different length of their terms. How the Senate has a 6-year term and the House only has 2-year is kind of about elections. The House of Representatives, since they have shorter terms, they are more in tune with the people. They have to do more of what the people want because they have to think about re-election within only 2 years, whereas in the Senate, they have more time in there that, they don't always have to be doing what the people want. They can do what they think is best and then go back to, towards the end of their term, go more back to what the people want. So Malik, go ahead.
I sort of thought for specifically you have to be a citizen for X amount of years. It could probably to prevent somebody who's could be disloyal or could have ill intentions after coming into the country or something. Somebody who would not be loyal to the people and be loyal to their own agenda. It's probably an important other clarification. Yes, ISIS, exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The reason for that, the citizenship is, you want people who are, loyal to the country. Any other thoughts on this one? Does everybody have something answered there? We good? We want to move on? Okay. So now it's back to Article 1, and just some terms to describe. So we'll go through those real quick. So what is a presidential veto? Anyone have a definition for that? Liz, go ahead.
That when Congress, or I think it's Congress makes laws, if I'm not mistaken, they bring the law that they're proposing to the president, and if the president doesn't think it's constitutional, or if the country needs it, he can veto it, and then they don't have to do it unless Congress has 2/3 against it, or for it, sorry.
Yeah, perfect. And that kind of goes into the next one too. So presidential veto is where the president can override a law that Congress passes. And then the next one, congressional veto, that's when if the president vetoes something and the Congress still wants it, the Congress can override the veto if they have a 2/3 vote in both houses. Okay, everyone got that? We'll go on to the next one. Quorum requirement. Anyone have a definition for that? Okay, so yes, it's 2/3. Okay, so a quorum exists when a majority of the members of either of the houses is present. So, when Congress meets, when either the House meets or the Senate meets, if they don't have a majority, they can't really do things. You have to have a majority of the people there in order to be able to get things done. So that's the quorum requirement and what a quorum is. Congressional compensation. What is that? Anybody? Jacob, you have it?
Yeah, so what I've got down there is congressional compensation is compensation to Congress, makes it so that Congress is not limited to those who are independently wealthy, and this makes it so that other classes can be represented there as well. And senators and representatives, House representatives, they set their own salaries, but because of the 27th Amendment, any decrease or increase cannot take effect after an intervening election. And that makes it so that if they set their own salary, it's not going to take place until the next election. So it wouldn't even really do anything for them. And that way they're just not paying themselves a bunch of money.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions on that? Do you understand why why they get to choose their own salary pretty much? Because they make the laws and it's like set by law. So basically, the compensation for members, basically the salary of members in the House and the Senate is set by law. And so because they make the laws, they can basically set their own salaries. But due to the 27th Amendment, any change in their salary doesn't take place until after an intervening election. So after their term kind of overturns. You get it? The 27th Amendment. Yep. Does that make sense? We good? Okay, great. So next is tax and spend. Anyone got that? That one's pretty simple. It's basically just that Congress has the power to tax the people and spend the money. And general welfare. Anyone have that one? So this one is with the tax and spend. Congress may tax and spend as it sees fit to provide for the general welfare. So I don't really know exactly. Anybody have anything more that they know about that? Because I
mean,
think
just by the pure, like, if you know what the phrase means, it means general welfare or the general outcome or the general happiness of the country, I guess. That's the way I always interpreted it, but I don't know.
yeah, I would agree. So the I think what it's saying is the the tax and spend definition is part of the with the general welfare thing, that with the tax and spend, that's not its own thing saying that Congress can tax and spend like no matter what. That's with the general welfare. It's in the definitions. Caleb, go ahead.
I think this is kind of also along the lines of, the country can do what it thinks necessary to provide the general welfare for the country. So like if it's like saying, oh, we need a little bit of a bigger army, then that is within their power. Like if it's wartime, they can say, okay, we need a little bit more army. We need more people to enlist. And so they can basically, have the draft to get a couple more people into the army. And so they're basically just being able to do whatever is necessary to ensure the safety of the country or the general well-being of the country.
Right. So yeah, I'd say the tax and spend and the general welfare go together. They're in the same clause. I just checked. So just kind of make a mental note. The tax and spend doesn't mean that they can tax and spend on whatever, but it goes with the general welfare. They can tax and spend as they see fit to provide for the general welfare. And and that's just what Caleb was just talking about. They can do whatever seems to be what will help the nation. So Jacob, tax and spend is just the power for Congress to tax the people and spend the money. So now we'll go on from that, and next is coin money and regulate value. Anyone want to cover that one? So that's just saying that Congress gets to authorize the creation of money. So I think there's something somewhere about how the states can't like make their own money. There's something about that I just read. But so Congress is, over making money and regulating its value so that it's kind of consistent throughout the whole nation. It kind of is similar to what we were just learning about with the Commerce Clause, how the reason they regulate commerce is to, make everything flow well throughout the nation. So that's the same with why they coin money. So, and next, establish post offices and roads. Anybody on that one?
I got it, I think.
Oh, Christian, go ahead.
they have the power to establish post offices and build roads. I think it's pretty self-explanatory there.
Yep, pretty much. And that's kind of to ensure the safe and speedy transit of U.S. mail. So just, if Congress is, making the post offices and the roads and stuff, then, it's kind of a united effort. It's, going to be consistent throughout the nation, and it's going to just, again, make everything flow smoothly instead of having everything, super mismatched and whatever. Would be kind of chaotic. So, constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. Anyone want to take a stab at that one? Yeah, so it's just basically saying that Congress can create federal courts lower than the Supreme Court. So anything below the Supreme Court, Congress can create a court. Yes, if that makes sense. Good. And then declare war, again, is pretty simple. Congress just gets to determine when to officially declare war. It's not the president that gets to do that, or whatever. Congress has to decide to declare war. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Okay, and then raise and support armies. Anyone want to go over that one?
That one's the job of the president, to raise armies.
Actually, it's Congress. Congress has the power to raise armies, and the president can't raise his own armies. No, he just did declare war. So that one's, pretty simple. Again, Congress gets to decide when to declare war. So yeah, I think kind of the reason the president can't raise and support his own armies, that kind of could lead to like a military dictatorship, if the president can just make his own army, whatever, and then, use that to take over. So Congress has that power to keep it more regulated and stuff. The president is the commander-in-chief of the army. I don't know if that's just in times of war or always.
That sounds right. That it's just in times of war, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just in times of war. So, I guess we'll go on to the next one. Powers regarding militias. So, anyone want to do that one? Someone that's not me? Or I can do it. So, states have their own militias. Every state, raises up its own militia, or however you would want to word that. And but then Congress can direct state militias to fight national threats. So, there's the militia just within the state, low key, whatever. And then if there's some national threat, then Congress can use the militia, direct them in fighting against any kind of national threat, right? So it's not that Congress is in charge of militias all the time. They just have the power to, bring in the militia to fight national threats. So our last definition, Caleb, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say this little section, it's almost like Congress has like emergency powers to take control of any militia and basically add them temporarily to the official army. So basically like taking the little bit of the National Guard that's in your area and saying we need all of them here now for so-and-so reasons to protect the whole country. So.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone get on this? We'll go on. We've got the last definition here in this section. is necessary and proper. So how would you define that? Anyone want to do that one? Malik.
I think the way I interpreted it is to be necessary and proper means it supports the people and it promotes the general welfare. So I think it ties in with general welfare, in my opinion, at least. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't have anything super specific in my study guide for that. Basically just, Congress has these powers and it can use them in any way that is necessary and proper. So it's just, basically what Malik was saying, just anytime that it's beneficial to the nation, whatever. So now we'll go, okay, is everyone good on that section? This second Article 1 section, everyone's got it? And so now, this is still in the Article 1, but the Commerce Clause. And this stuff was all covered in class on Monday, if you all were there, and if you remember this stuff. So first we have 3 definitions. What does regulate mean from in the wording of the Commerce Clause? May, you taught this class. Do you know what regulate means?
So it was a fun class to teach. So usually in this sense and in this kind of whole situation that I was put in this context, to regulate was like to control, I won't say necessarily control, but to make sure everything was going well and to make sure kind of just for everything to work out to where it's not like getting backed up, if that makes sense, and to like have the power to delegate over people, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, so I can't tell who raised their hand next. Zoom's not great, but someone with your hand up, go ahead and go. Oh, it tells me over here. Caleb, I think you're next.
Okay, well, I think this also kind of ties in, like, regulate is like to, like watch over, make sure everyone's doing everything properly, because that's first off one of their jobs. But then it's also to make sure that it doesn't get out of control. They're keeping it down to keep it from, spreading too quickly, not trying to, let it grow at an extreme rate that is uncontrollably. They try and keep it fairly contained so that it doesn't just break out and just get crazy everywhere.
Yeah. So basically, a simple way to put this, I guess, is that they have the power to put rules and regulations on stuff. They, put on these rules to make sure that everything goes well and doesn't get out of control. And that's what it means by regulate is a very specific, just easier to understand way of saying that. So next off, what is commerce? How is that defined? Jacob's got it in there. It's the interchange of goods or property. That's what the definition in the dictionary. So any kind of buying, selling, trading, anything like that. That's what commerce is. And so the last one, what does it refer to in among the states? Katie, I think your hand's raised.
Okay, so my definition I have is it's just really simple. It just means anything that's across state lines. So any commerce that is happening, that takes place across state lines.
Yeah, perfect. So, and then if we put those together, those 3 definitions, basically what the Commerce Clause is saying is that Congress has the power to put rules on any kind of trading or selling or anything that goes on across state lines. So, get those definitions in, and it helps to understand the Commerce Clause. And now all that's left in this study guide is the court cases. So do we want to have people kind of summarize those? Someone want to take Wickard and Filburn? Katie, you've got Wickard and Filburn? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is one of the ones I talked about when I taught class. But basically, what it was Congress regulated the amount of wheat grown on property, even if it was being grown for personal use. So what happened in this case was there was a farmer, I can't remember his name, but he was growing wheat, and he grew too much. Like, he grew enough that it broke the regulation. And so they fined him like $115, but he argued that that the fine shouldn't apply to him, or the regulation shouldn't apply to him, because he wasn't engaging in commerce. And so, yeah, that's what the case was, and we had to decide if it was constitutional or not.
Okay, perfect. So the meeting's going to end any minute. Use the same link. Don't know when it's going to end, any second now. So come back to the same link, and then we'll go over the next cases and stuff. So I'll just close the meeting so we don't have to sit here and wait.